So, before we start our session today, I would like to introduce the mind behind this training program, Ms. Tanu Mehta. Starting her career in litigation practice, Ms. Tanu moved on to ADR over the last 12 years and has been consulting with various organizations and institutions as an independent mediator and conciliator, and has been handling mediation case referrals from courts. She is a chairperson of the Mediation Committee at the Bombay Chambers, an advocate in the High Court with over 27 years of experience, and a senior mediator with CMC. Ms. Tanu was also instrumental in launching India's first MA in mediation and conflict resolution, whilst acting as director of the Center for Mediation and Research at the Maharashtra National Law University, MNLU, Mumbai, between 2019 to 2022. Through her various efforts, she has aspired to create a community of trained mediators who will work together, share experiences, and knowledge. She has continuously raised the bar for mediation practices and believes in the power of mediation to build bridges across industries, empowering persons from every stream of life to make our world a more compassionate and harmonious place. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrinalini. And a very, very warm welcome to all of you. Just like I got a very sweet introduction from Mrinalini, I wanted to know a little bit about you. I was asking Gandha, I've not come into this classroom at all. So I would love to, and I've heard very good things about the classroom, how good your discussions are going on and how good it is to interact with you all. So I would love to hear a little bit about you before we move in. Is that all right? Yeah. Yeah. So I'll start with some names that I know. And then, of course, lots of people, lots of names that I don't know at all. So I'm just going to call out people and then please let me know a little bit about yourself and how's the journey been in this classroom for the last few days. So we'll start with Sunu because I've spoken with her, I think maybe 3-4 times on the phone, but I've never seen her.
Yeah.
Hi, Sunu.
Hi, Tanu. Hi. I'm Dr. Sunu Balsar. I work as a consultant anesthesiologist in South Bombay. And this class was highly recommended to me by a colleague from Ratnagiri. He had done a 2-day course with you. And he insisted that, I do the course with you. And so far it's been a very exciting journey. This is something very new. And I have enjoyed your team of dedicated teachers and all those mock scenarios, and the rapport has been excellent. And of course, they are very forthcoming, and I mean, whatever problems we have, they solve them immediately. So all in all, it's been really wonderful. I'm glad I'm doing it.
And I'm glad you're finally here. We've
Yes, me
tried,
too.
you know our journey, so
Yes,
want
yes.
more.
Yeah.
All right, good. Welcome. I see a name called Gayatri Sirur, but I don't see a Gayatri here.
I'm sorry about that. I have to
No
remove
problem.
that.
Please.
I'm Dr. Subodh Chiru. That's my wife, Gayatri
All right.
Siru. Okay. I'm a practicing dermatologist, and I have done my LLB and LLM, specializing in criminal law and consumer laws. I have been doing risk management for doctors, hospitals, and nursing homes for the last 27 years. And I have appeared before the Consumer Fora also. And I've been an arbitrator in commercial transactions for TCS, then Tata Capital Finance, L&T Finance. I've done more than around 2,000 arbitration matters. So, and I take interactive sessions on the medical legal issues all over the country for associations and doctors. I'm also a fellow of the Insurance Institute of India. I worked in that space for more than 10 years, and I've been a chief administrative officer of a third-party So basically, I was stimulated to join this course by Dr. Lalit Kapoor indirectly. Somebody suggested my name to him, and then for the first course, I was asked to join, and I said I really don't have the time because there are so many things on my uh, so many things that I do. So when it came for the second time, then I spoke to Ganda, and she told me how that is necessary to have probably different perspectives, insights into how mediation actually works. Because I've done out of court settlements and mediations for a lot of litigants, but the I didn't know so many terms and the different strategies that are used. Maybe some of those strategies are used without knowing the jargon at all, or the reason why we are doing that. So I thank Ganda for actually telling me that I should be joining this course, and maybe even from the Supreme Court mandate where we have to complete 40 hours certification. So in that that was also a necessary requirement. That's how I knew it. Thank you so much for all of you, including Mrinalini and Kamakshi and Ganda and JP Singh. They are really stimulating us to get into the ADR mode.
Lovely. So good to hear that. Thank you, Dr. Cyril. Dr. Deepa Mungi. Hi.
Hi, good evening. I'm a gynecologist and I've done my LLB. I'm currently pursuing LLM in criminology. I've taken up a new job as a DNB teacher. I was into private practice all these years, but this DNB program came up in the BMC. I took up a job with them. So now I've gone into teaching, and this is the first time that I have actually got into the paperwork part of it. I got to know about this course from Dr. Preeti Jaikar, and she knew that once in the past we had spoken. Just a minute.
Yes.
I had spoken to Dr. Preeti Jaikar, and we had spoken about arbitration and how it can have a good play in medical field. And it's like somebody actually is working on it. Was a very nice thing to know. So I decided to join, and I think the first course was called off, and this probably is the first course, if I'm not wrong, for the 40 hours.
For medical personnel, yes.
Yeah, for the medical personnel, of course.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. You know, as you all talk, it surprises me how many medical personnel or doctors are studying law, because I know very few lawyers who are studying medicine. I don't think I know lawyers who study medicine at all. I only know doctors who study medicine. So it's awesome that, you know, you all have the bandwidth and the interest and the initiative to go further than, you know, your trainings, and this kind of fusion and this kind of large perspective that will come in because of your, you know, increased perspective is going to be fantastic, I think, just for the society by itself. So that's so heartening to hear that
No, primarily what happens is there is so much of medical legal thing nowadays. Practice has changed over the last 20 years. I mean, I don't have too much of experience. I have an experience for around 19 years. But over those 19 years, things have changed dramatically, from being able to get away with most things to being careful about even the smallest of things. I mean, I picked up dehydration in a patient who was post-operative patient. The relatives came to me saying that how come the floor doctor did not realize. So now a simple thing of dehydration and one IV fluid, and the patient wants to sue the hospital, the relatives, especially the youngsters who are in the US and staying abroad and have relatives here, it becomes difficult. No?
Yes, even the idea for this actually came in one program that we had done with Dr. Kapoor, where he said, or I don't know whether it was a conversation with him, where he said that we are seeing on an average more than 100 applications per year in the BMC for closure of clinics or hospitals.
I have personally
That
closed my.
was alarming, because imagine, you know, so much goes into getting a doctor, you know, ready in our country, And imagine people wanting to close down shop and move out into a different career. That was really alarming. And that is when we started thinking that we must do a separate program. And not only separate program, there has to be a culture of mediation within this whole community, because yeah, it's very sad if people will have to close down things that they have so passionately worked for and move on. So yeah.
Incidentally, this month I've closed my sonography clinic thanks to the red tapeism and the babugiri. I made it simpler to close and sell the machine within half an hour.
Oh gosh.
It was such a headache. Now I'm free.
Wow. Ah. sorry to hear that.
No, that's fine. I'm free.
Yes, something better will happen, I'm sure. With this time that you're taking off from sonography, and it'll go into something else.
That's not primary profession. I'm a gynecologist.
All right. Vishali, hi.
Hi, good evening. I have been an insurance professional, general insurance professional, with an experience of more than 28 years. I have just recently moved out of my corporate life and getting into a second career in legal field since I am a law graduate. And ADR is the area of focus where I want to grow myself in future, and how I am pursuing MA in mediation from MNLU, and Ganda happens to be my professor there, and she recommended. So I was any which ways looking for a certification course, and she recommended me for this, and I found it to be interesting, and that's how I am here.
It's nice to hear.
Thanks.
Welcome. Dr. Sudhir Rai.
Good evening. I'm just traveling back. That's why I'm sorry for the video.
No problem.
I'm a chief operating officer with Ruby Hall Clinic in Pune,
Okay.
and I'm basically an emergency physician who also practice emergency medicine along with being an administrator. I have passion of teaching basic life support and advanced cardiac life support. So I do this training with most of the institutes around in India. Because of my company being attached with CIA, I keep getting these mails. That's how I got to know about this mediation, and I found it very interesting, because most of the time these complaints that land up to the admin management, and understanding their how to be handling that. That's what we've been doing most of the time, and it does go for litigation. So I just wanted to learn more about mediation, and probably I'll use this into my day-to-day activities. And if something comes up in mediation, I would love to carry on. That's the whole purpose.
Good to hear that. Thank you.
Thank
Ketki Ward. If I'm pronouncing your names wrongly, please correct me.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Ketki Ward. I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist working in a municipal maternity home as a senior medical officer. And I'm having my clinical and administrative responsibilities both. And part of which also involves this conflict resolution among the staff and patients and doctors and everything. So, and I really look forward to this as my way forward, so that I can use it in my practice also, and I can be a mediator in the course of time.
That's nice. So which municipal hospital are you in right now?
I'm working in Oshiwara Municipal Hospital,
Okay.
which is at present in Goregaon.
Yes, I know about that. I've lived in Goregaon all my life, so I know about Oshiwara. And in fact, my earliest
Yeah.
forays.
And in fact, I'm working in Goregaon only because Oshiwara, that building is demolished. So at present, we are housed in Topiwala Maternity Home at Goregaon.
Oh, yes.
West.
Right. Yes, that's where we took my mother for COVID injections. So Yes, right. So
Oh,
my
yes,
earliest
right.
forays into all medical law was via a friend who was a lawyer, and her husband worked in the municipal hospital at that time. I think it was in Nair or someplace. Uh, a doctor called Dr. Sridhar Pawar. And that's when I started even understanding what were the medical legal issues. That was right in late 1990s. So it's so nice now to see somebody else from that same hospital, municipal setup. KS. I see a KS here.
Tanu, that's me, Kamakshi.
She's logged in
But
from
no,
two devices.
Kamakshi Sambari is different and KS is different.
Yeah,
She's-
because I've logged in using my phone because my
All right.
computer is giving me a little bit of an
All
issue.
right. All right. Okay. All right then. So we are all here now together. There isn't anybody else, right, Ganda?
Dr. Preeti, I think she's just logged out and she's back again.
Okay, yeah. Dr. Preeti Jaikar.
Hi, sorry, I just got back home. Finally, I see the face with the message. Hi, Tanu.
Hi.
I missed the beginning 10 minutes, so I assume you are doing introductions. Yeah. So I am a surgeon. I'm based in Mumbai, and I was very interested in medical legal work. So I had done a master's. This was one of the first programs that came out in India, but this was way back in 2010. And I have not got a law degree, but this master's helped me get a little more exposure to what kind of problems are coming up. So I am a consultant for the last 6-7 years. I'm trying my best to help out fellow colleagues and bit. But I think I attended one of your orientation programs, which you had for a day, where you explained all this with Dr. Kapoor. So he's like a role model, for the kind of work that he's been doing all these years. So that really got me interested. I think I couldn't join in for the first time that you announced this, but this time, hopefully, I have made it. And all your speakers are excellent. I mean, it's been really a pleasure listening and learning. And I hope this can take us more ahead in what we are hoping to do next. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you finally for joining and for making this such a nice little classroom. You got a master's degree in medical legal?
Yes, this is from Annamalai. So it was like a 2-year course. And they weren't really very prepared for the medical legal part because they had started it off and we were the first batch. So we had started off, there were 8 people all over India, and finally only me and one more fellow passed. He was a neurosurgeon and it was me. But it gave us a degree and exposure. So that's it.
And it gives a new beginning. All these courses are so welcome because it gives a new, beginning.
Right.
And a way out of what we ourselves have created. All these issues are our own creation. So good. I'm glad they've started a degree like this. All right. So we will delve today into our subject. Now, what have you done till now that has made you think a little bit about neutrality? Our subject today, there are 2 subjects that we are trying to cover today, neutrality and ethics. And I'm sure ethics has been spoken again and again because this training itself is so inclusive of ethics. So first I want to know, what is it that you've, kind of understood about neutrality as you've been trained in mediation?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't raise my, it's on a phone, so I'm not able to get the reactions easier. So basically the idea is not to be judgmental and to listen to both the sides, find out the problems, and don't base your option or your advice as the way out. So we are looking at a solution between the 2 parties themselves. So I asked Gandha actually in the beginning only. I said, it's really difficult. I said, how can you not, as a human being, not take sides or, at least mentally decide this one is right, this one is wrong. But she said that that's an issue which I guess you will give us tools in finding out to make sure that we are neutral. But what I realize is don't be judgmental. So don't start taking sides or make up our own opinions right at the beginning.
All right. Fair enough. I think that's a fair enough point to start with, that definitely don't make opinions. But like you said, it's a difficult path as we move forward, because it's very difficult not to have a bias. All right. And that is a constant struggle, because as human beings, we will always have. Nevertheless, it's an ideal. We want to be neutral and we are hoping we can go there. So it's something to develop. So I would like to know, I think I saw Dr. Deepa's hand up and Dr. Sudhir Rai's hand up. So who would like to go first? Dr. Rai?
Yeah. Basically, it's when the role plays went on, we realized it more that the personal bias sets in, and pre-thought of trying to, pull out things. That happens, and because we have these pre-thoughts that made us, conclude some things and try to push it out. Neutrality is something which all Dr. Preeti mentioned is a very difficult concept to practice and make it possible. But definitely, as we keep doing it, it would we should be able to practice that in a better way.
Yes. True. There's nothing that I can say, oh, no, here this doesn't work, because exactly all these constitute neutrality. You're right. Dr. Mungi?
Yeah, actually, what I've realized over this whole thing, the role play that sir actually mentioned just now, is that we have to realize the problem is somebody else's. We are not out to find a solution. We just want to ensure that they talk to each other. And what generally happens is, being a consultant, people come to us with a problem, we solve that problem. So now, coming out of that mindset where I'm into troubleshooting to coming to a point where I need to get these two people to talk and not interfere with their talk and not suggest something which I feel is right for them. And they need to realize that it is right for themselves. So probably that is what neutrality means.
That's so true, to close the chatter in our mind, because we are full. I mean, because of what we are, because of the knowledge that we've gained, because of the experience we've gained, we are full of our own opinions. And just to keep away from ourselves and, from trying to resolve it via what we think is right, and to hear people out, give them that space to work that out, that itself is a very big step towards neutrality. So yes, I think, given the way you all have been intensely training for this, you're very there. Yes, it is neutrality. So unlike what you said, Preeti, I'm not going to be giving tools here, all right, in this presentation, but I am going to, I'm going to first share my, can you see my,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, all right. So I'm going to share my screen, and then this is more of a discussion, not so many tools, but maybe we could understand neutrality a little more deeper because of this discussion here that we have. So everyone can see my screen, right? All right. So neutrality. Now, there are many ways of looking at neutrality, and, cultures differentiate in their understanding of neutrality. Now, in Western understanding, where all of us have grown, with this understanding, where all of us have taken training, because whether you're a doctor or a lawyer, all of us have to understand the concept of neutrality, because we all attempt to do that professionally. So in our understanding, in the understanding of Western education that all of us have got, neutrality is the state or position of being impartial, yeah, or of, 1 second, sorry, yeah, of, or not being allied with or committed to either party or viewpoint in a conflict. Yeah, is there anything else that needs to be put in here or understood here? Because this is, I think, most of us, what we think of neutrality is this, that we have to remain impartial, we don't have to be allied or committed to either party. Now, in Indian traditional understanding, there's a slight difference. In Indian understanding, neutrality is a mental attitude of balance, detachment, and impartiality. Can you see the difference, or right now, do you have any comment on these two different understandings or these two different definitions? Yes, Rushali.
So in the latter definition, you are completely I'm not finding the right word for it, but you don't care for what the result or outcome of it is. So that's how you look at it. It doesn't matter you
It
at all.
doesn't matter to you. So when you say you don't care, do you mean we are apathetic about it?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay. All right. And then in the earlier definition, what does it mean then?
So you still are concerned about the outcome, but you don't allow, or you don't intervene, or you don't be part of it. That's how I look at it. I'm maybe wrong, obviously.
Okay. So while you're saying here, I don't care about the outcome, I'd just like to know, I mean, when I said, does that mean apathetic? You said maybe, but let us say if there's a war going on, do I care about the outcome or no? If I don't care, and if I say, all right, it doesn't matter if 100 people die, good, more rubbish ends from this world. How does it work?
No feelings attached to it. It's either good or bad, nothing. No feelings attached to it. You don't feel good, you don't feel bad, nothing.
Okay. And that, so when we say that to come to that level where we don't feel, okay, because human beings feel all the time. It's only when you're absolutely numb, and in fact, having no feeling includes having no feeling of empathy, can make a very dangerous human being if you can't feel. So would you say that your understanding veers towards that you become almost robotic, because that's what we will be if we have no feelings, a robotic human?
The yogic concept of living is on these lines, so could be.
Okay. All right. Interesting. We are going to discuss this. Yeah, Deepa?
Yeah, see, basically, this Western concept is not taking our own balance, mental balance that we have into consideration in these situations. They want, the Indian one wants us to be extremely balanced in our views, not in our views, but in our understanding of the situation. And detachment also means that you do not attach any emotional value to the information that you're given. You don't create your own reaction to it. It is not that you don't feel it. You don't react to it is a very different thing. Detachment is not something that means that, okay, fine, whatever happens, go, whatever, it's your luck, not mine. It's not that way. It is understanding. That is probably it would boil down to being empathetic, but not sympathetic, or maybe participating in that discussion. It wouldn't mean apathy.
So for you, it's not apathy. It just means that you don't react at that time. Even if you're feeling, please don't react.
Yeah, I would observe the reaction and see what
You would observe your own reaction.
Yes, it is the observer role, the Sakshi Bhav that everybody talks about in Bhagavad Gita and everywhere.
Yeah. And okay, Ketki, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What I would think in this is, okay, I do my work, but the result will not affect me, or I will not be taking it personally at any point of time. Neutrality means that for me, and balance and detachment also means that for me. Obviously, I have to be empathetic, because otherwise I will not be in mediation or any kind of human interaction. So feeling, yes, and what Deepa said, okay, maybe I will not react, or I'll observe my reaction. That is a part of the process. But it is like I'm doing my work, I'm doing this process, and I'm concentrating on what I can do. And whatever the result or whatever the outcome is, I will not be taking it very personally as my failure or my success.
Yes. Yes, it won't be something that you are connected to in terms of, oh, it disturbs you so much if it fails, or it exhilarates you so much when it, it succeeds, that you start attaching a very high emotion to it. You have to remain balanced and have a certain detachment. All right. Y'all are talking about the second one, but I want to also understand what it means when we say that we have to be in a position of being impartial or not allied with or committed to either party or viewpoint. I'm asking you this specifically because often, even in law, we often say that, a judge should recuse. If recently, I don't know if you know, there was a judge who was earlier, in his earlier avatar, a writer. He wrote on different topics, and he might have given an opinion on something maybe 10 years ago, and then he became a judge, and then that a certain matter went to him, and the parties before him said, see, you've already given your opinion 10 years ago on this, so we don't trust you, and you have to recuse yourself. You cannot hear the matter. All right. So I want to go back to that of not being allied or committed to a viewpoint in a conflict. And I want to understand what you think about that.
Madam, it should be such that you don't reinforce anyone's views in that. And when we are talking, we should be able to reflect that in our talk by not saying that I agree with this particular point and I don't agree with this particular point. It's part of being judgmental.
So that means if we don't have a viewpoint, does that make us impartial or does that make me neutral? So let me say
neither.
Neither.
Not having a viewpoint is very different. But making that known to everyone and carrying it on your sleeve is something that is very different.
Yes, but often, let me tell you, as a formality, most of us are asked to disassociate with things. And it could also be like one of you said, all right, suppose I do have a feeling, but I'm not reacting. All right. But if that feeling is very strong within me, it's going to create a bias. Isn't that so? Because I may feel, for example, very angry at something, maybe, some abuse that's going on, but I'm not going to react. All right. Doesn't mean that my feeling goes away. Of course, very well said when one of you said that I have to observe my own feeling. Because what am I feeling? Why am I angry? And what is it that is egging me on to that anger? So my observation of my own feeling is very important. And to slowly build my detachment to that feeling. But yes, we have to be careful about what is seen, what is heard, because of course, being fair is not only about ourselves being fair, it is also what others perceive us to be fair. So for now, good, we've talked about a lot of terms. Let's see further how we can understand this better. I want to know, so, which are the words that you would use here? All right. Would you use impartial or neutral in these fill in the blanks? And I want each one of you to try out and tell me what you'd use here. So the first line, I am dash to either sweet or salty food. What would you?
Neutral.
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 I am dash to colors.
Impartial.
Impartial.
Okay.
No, neutral.
You said neutral?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me what you mean when you say I'm impartial to colors. What will we mean by that sentence?
That I prefer blue most of the times, or I don't like black, or if there is a occasion, I will prefer to wear blue dress rather than any other color. So I'm impartial.
Okay. So now let me ask you a question. I am impartial to colors, all right? Will it mean that when I see, so I generally like bright colors. Let's assume I love bright colors, okay? And I walk into a room which is very dull and very sober, and it immediately puts my mood to a very somber, effect. I am saying I'm impartial to color, but my mood has changed. So am I really impartial, or does it affect me? Like, what will I use? How will I use impartial there and the word neutral there? How will it make a difference?
Because you are impartial to colors, you have changed your, you have become neutral. Your neutrality has changed.
But I may say I'm impartial, but internally my mood has changed. Okay. Though on the external, I have told everyone I'm impartial to colors. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to be the best professional that I can be. But it has changed. So,
If my mood change is not affecting the work process there, I being impartial will not affect the outcome.
right.
It should not.
Very good. So most of us who are trained professionally often develop a certain neutrality because we train ourselves to such an extent. As doctors, of course, you train yourselves through so much that you become neutral to it. Okay. And it doesn't affect you to the extent that it'll affect you professionally. It's the same that happens with lawyers. It's the same which happens with many other professionals. And therefore, our understanding of both these terms have to be clear, because impartiality and neutrality are slightly different. And that is what we are trying to understand, because in the Western sense, impartiality is almost what they expect out of a neutral person. Whereas in an Indian sense, there's a slight difference. Let's try the other one. I am dash towards American and Russian rivalry.
Neutral.
Neutral.
No, impartial.
I'll be impartial.
Impartial.
Impartial. So what do you mean when you say I'm impartial?
I
So
might
let
have
me give you a situation, all right? And then tell me, what do you mean by impartial? So,
I
yeah.
might have a partner, or I might have a friend who's Russian. I have liking towards Russians, but the fight between American and Russians would not bother me.
Okay. Would not bother you. All right. And that is why you're impartial. All right. Has a different way of explaining this?
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yes, please.
In American and Russian context, both of them have some positive and some negative points. And I'm impartial to in the rivalry. So that's why I feel it's impartial.
Okay. Would anyone say that you are impartial because you're neither American nor Russian, so it doesn't matter to you? If it was Indian and Pakistani, it would be a different thing. But because if it is American and Russian, it doesn't matter to you.
But would that not mean neutral then? Because I'm not affected and I'm neither. That's why I said neutral.
Yeah, asking you, what would you say?
No, ma'am, that would not be being impartial. That would be being neutral.
Acha. Sunu, you have something else to say?
Like you said, like I'm neither American nor Russian, and so that's why I'm kind of impartial to their rivalry. It doesn't affect me, so I'm impartial.
And when would you call it you call yourself neutral towards their rivalry? All right. What about the next one? I'm impartial or neutral in my view of gender justice.
Impartial, maybe.
Impartial.
Neutral.
Impartial, what do you mean? That when you see a case of abuse or when you see a case of discord, forget about abuse, just discordant, you don't automatically rush to a conclusion and you don't think, oh, it's about gender, but you're open to the idea of it going anyways. Is that it?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Anyone else? Rushali?
So I feel impartial is something when it comes to you being acting on it and there is some outcome expected, and there when you have impact of your feeling, you're impartial or partial. So here in this case I would say it should be neutral because that's your uh, thought process which is going to affect your judgment or your uh, views about the thing, the whole matter.
I'd just like you all to consider one thing, and I think all of you are there. It's also, this Sunu, you raised your hand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think you say impartial when you are, I think so, huh? That when impartial when you are dealing with two parties,
Hmm?
where like you want to treat both of them equally and not take sides. And neutral, you need not have not. I mean, you don't have to compare basically two parties. I mean that kind of a thing.
Hmm.
So where it's American and Russian, there are two sides involved. So maybe that would be impartial. But something like gender justice, I'm not comparing as such two parties, so it would be neutral. Is that, I don't know.
What do you say, Dr. Sirur?
The impartiality or partiality is related to being fair or not being fair. Whereas when you say neutral, it's with respect to the outcome or the effect. So, so I'm neutral if this party wins, whether America wins or Russia wins. I'm neutral. The outcome is not material to me as such. But impartiality is when if Americans have a dominating position, and then if I have to take sides, whether it's America or Russia that you would, now there's war between two countries. Now, do you want Israel or you want this Hamas is the question. So there you have to be fair, whether who struck first, what was the reason. When I go into that, it's the partiality component, but who wins is not affecting me directly. Maybe shares or whatever gets affected, but it's not affecting me directly. So I'm neutral to that outcome of the war
I think you
or
said
the
it very
rival.
well, the first sentence, that I'm impartial when I have to treat two people who are before me, and I have to treat them fairly. Whereas I'm neutral when I'm not really bothered about the outcome. It doesn't affect me, or, I don't want it to affect. So I'm neutral. Wherever the outcome goes, I'm okay with it. But when I'm treating two people in front of me, or there is a problem in front of me, I have to be, I have to ensure that my treatment of that problem, or, if I'm the boss, or I'm just a vendor to two parties whose one is, I have to be impartial to both and not, not take sides. Yeah, go ahead. I think I saw Dr. Sudhir's hand earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. What I was thinking is that suppose I'm a doctor, I have a lady patient, I have to get a lady in along with me while I'm examining. So though I will examine her, I will be impartial in my outcome or decisiveness of what is to happen. And neutral is a position or a thought where I do not impact my process of thinking into that process. And I take a decision which is non-biased.
But in impartiality, will you project your decision into that? Even
Impartiality, there is a position of not thinking, but I am forced with some condition of the environment to take that kind of stand.
Okay.
Like I have to have a lady attendant compulsory for examining a lady. I have to have that stand. I would not examine a lady without that lady assistant. So though I am not having, I have a neutral thought, but I cannot do that decision taking without that process.
So you're differentiating by saying that though I can be impartial, I have to be seen as impartial because of whatever the law is. So impartiality is more a matter of being perceived rather than your own self, whereas neutrality is on the outcome. Again, you are also, you didn't use the word, but from what I gather from you, you're saying neutrality is independent of impartiality. I will still think neutrally in terms of what is the outcome of this.
What I have to do, basically.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Ketkiji, you have to go. You want to say again? Your hand is up.
No.
Achha. So such interesting, perceptions coming out here. Yes, impartiality is always about being seen, because whatever it is, we have to be seen to be impartial. Okay, so every profession has its own ethical values, laws, regulations that will ensure that when a person is passing out a judgment, whether it's a judgment, whether it's a treatment, there is a certain perception of impartiality. But neutrality is a deeply internal process, okay, which allows us to go to a stage where we can actually, irrespective of anything, by our own selves, be in a stage of such detachment that we will only want what we think, what we understand to be, we won't be concerned with the outcome. We will only be concerned with what is going to be the right thing to do, whatever our ethics is. So, neutrality requires an inner strength, whereas impartiality requires adherence to a certain regulation, a certain understanding, a certain perception. Is it making sense to you? So neutrality is something that you develop internally. And the more you develop it, the more stronger you have a sense of neutrality, the better a professional you are, whether you are a professional mediator or a professional doctor or a lawyer. Yeah? Let's go ahead. So first of all, is it possible to be neutral? Because a lot of people say it's impossible. You will always have some judgment, some bias. It is not possible to be neutral. So I want to understand from you, is it possible to be neutral?
It's difficult, but it is definitely doable.
It's doable, definitely. There's an ideal involved. It's difficult. Give me an example.
Whenever we have a patient of, say, some LGBTQ group where their ideas about the whole situation don't match our ideas of sexuality or what preferences that we have, and at that point of time, it is difficult to understand their problems. But once you have a dialogue with them, they open up and they freely talk about their problems, and then they have faith in you. That is a point when you take a neutral stand about it, despite having your own opinion about what sexuality should be or what sexuality is. So that probably.
Okay. Very interesting. I'm going to just go a little further to get your opinions on that earlier slide. So basically, human beings exist between two ends of the spectrum. One is the human will and the other is the universal will. I'll explain what I mean by that. Human will is the ability to use our thoughts, knowledge, belief, intention, abilities, capacities, whatever we have, to manifest what we want in our life. So my ability to work hard, my ability to focus, to study for long hours, my ability to understand things, my intention, my clear desire to cross a certain level of expertise, etc., helps me come to a position that I desire, helps me literally manifest what I want. And human beings have that huge will, right? So basically, our focus channelization of whatever our energy is, whatever we may consider our energy, a lot of us believe that that determines where we reach in our life. Not only do we believe, that is our primary motive when we, as we live lives, that is the purpose of our lives, that we optimize what we have, we learn to do our best, and we give our best to the society. All right. Now, this is slightly different from what we understand by universal will, which we also know, what is going on. Like some people may call it divine will or karma or whatever. It is the quality of universe that disposes human will with its own sense and logic. All right. And all of us have gone through it. So basically, we move between these two spectrums. Would you all say that's right or wrong? As human beings, usually we cover these two big spectrums, the human will versus the universal will. What do you say about this? Is that true for you? Is that, no, it doesn't make sense to you?
It's like saying man proposes but God disposes. Something like that.
Yes. Does that sound true to you in your experience? Is that true? Is that, something that does exist?
Does exist.
Yes,
Shali?
I would also agree.
Yeah, sort of, yes. But honestly speaking, I'm not really too sure I've understood the concept so well.
No, we will go later to our understanding. Generally, as a concept, what I'm proposing is that human beings live between these two spectrums. One is our immense ability to do things, to put into action our will. And the other is there is a certain universal will by which, we are governed. Would you agree to it or no?
I think we as doctors especially definitely should agree to it. I mean, even with immense ability and knowledge and belief, sometimes things don't go the right way, and you really wonder why. This happens all the time in practice.
And this happens in our practice too as lawyers. Despite all preparation, everything that could go right, sometimes a case takes a completely different turn. And we may blame, the judge's mind, we may blame circumstances, we may blame something else. But it doesn't make sense, because with the same sort of literally recipe, the same sort of ingredients, somebody else got a different
Right.
result or judgment. So at least for us too, it works that way. But to take up Vrishalu's, why I'm using this is that for a lot of us, this works. Those who are very strong proponents of human will often say that if we maintain neutrality, it's the darkest place in hell. In fact, Dante said this: the darkest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in times of moral crisis. A lot of people are saying that now too, that, how can you be neutral when you can see the genocide happening, or when you can see who's killing whom, or you can see who started the war, whether it is Russia, Ukraine, whether it is Israel, Hamas. People have very strong opinions, and people say, oh, no, in times of crisis, you have to take a side, right? Neutrality as a lasting principle is an evidence of weakness. All right. Many people say that. In fact, most of the times in politics, it's abhorred that we take a neutral stand. If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you're neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. Somebody as big as Desmond Tutu said it. And a lot of people do tell us. So then when we were talking of neutrality, where does that bring us? Because people don't like neutrality. They say, in times of injustice or in times of anything, you have to take a stand. You can't simply say, oh, you're going to be neutral. So then all our discussion about, impartiality, neutrality, how does that work? Preeti?
Yeah, sorry. I just got back to the conversation, so I think I missed a few slides. I was not there for 15 minutes. So I got the general idea what you're trying to say. So I think basically, since we know what we are doing, I think you're talking about the bigger picture here. So the bigger picture, I think, is beyond an individual scope. And for us, I think when we are dealing with two sets of people with two sets of issues, trying to find a solution is what we should aim at. So I don't think we really should try to, actively say that I'm going to be neutral. It has to come, I think, naturally, which I think will come with practice. I don't think we should be able to, join the dots so easily, say that, it's a war. I think nobody likes war, but each side is thinking that what they're doing is correct. So as a third party, we really don't know what's actually happening behind the scene, but overall, nobody likes a bad situation. So that's what we need to aim, I think, when we are dealing with two parties and their issues. I'm sorry if I miss the gist of it.
You're talking like a mediator, and that we are trying to find a solution. But while we are trying to find a solution, the reality is also out that a lot of people will not accept you if you are neutral. They want your stand clarified. So I'm now going to go to Dr. Sudhir Rai because I saw his hand raised first. So yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
this whole idea is about mediation. So we want them to communicate, not to put our will into it or thought into it. So since it is mediation, we cannot take sides and we cannot have a will because we want to get their thought processes out. Though we feel this one is right or wrong. So being neutral is the only way out in this, even if they are, asking us multiple times that what do you feel? And second thought is, I lost that part. Uh, Basically, I wanted to say that there are times where you can really put your, when it is a POSCO or do harm process, you definitely use your willpower to stop that thing or complain it out. So there is a point where you can talk out, but most of the thing is you want them to talk. So there's nothing about our will in that process.
Okay. But I just want you to consider this for a minute, that for a lot of people, you may not be acceptable if you've not taken a stand. Right? For a lot of people, I mean,
It is
remember one
like,
important thing. We always say mediation has to be voluntary. Both sides have to agree, right? But
yes.
for a lot of people, people may not agree to you being the mediator because they think if you've not taken a side, anyways, you're out of consideration. They want to see your side. They otherwise will discredit you to be, to be someone who can find a solution. I just want you to consider this while you're talking about this and while we discuss it. Yes, Vrushali, go ahead next.
So, what I understand from where you're coming from is being neutral throughout the entire process is something which is not really not something which is expected. When I'm saying that, it doesn't mean that I am saying that you take side of the parties. So during the initial periods, when the dialogue is not yet established between the two parties, you are the one who the parties look at as a person to go for, and that is the time when you may not uh, be precisely partial, but you may sound to be, uh, or you need to give them that understanding that yes, I'm understanding you. I do understand your point of view, your concerns, and that's where you project yourself to be in a such a way that you don't seem to be completely least bothered about the outcome. You show empathy to them, or you project your empathy to them so that they open it up.
Exactly, Vrushali. So while you may have said that neutrality means I don't care, actually, you have to care because the other person has to see your empathy. They first need to understand that you understand their pain before they will even trust you with further processes. So empathy is very important. Apathy won't work, right? And empathy is something that again is a matter of perception. Empathy, which is neutral, or empathy, which is biased, is something that we will always have to balance out, because a lot of times when we are empathetic, somebody may consider it bias, but our empathy has to go to a level where we are considered as neutrally empathetic, where we can understand a pain without getting so attached that we are biased towards A's pain versus B's pain. Yeah, Dr. Deepa?
Madam, with all due respect, these philosophers who have put their sentences, we've taken just one sentence out of their own entire paragraph or entire work that they have made out of this, and at the end of it, they have said these things. So probably it would be a good idea to go through this, but superficially it feels as if neutrality and apathy are probably being not exactly equated, but they are being compared to each other, and very little small thread that differentiates between apathy and neutrality. It's a shade different. Apathy is something that is an unmaking of a human being, but detachment and neutrality is what takes you higher. So probably this is a change. This is a difference in the thought process that we have and what is inbuilt into us, the culture and the heritage that we come from, and from where these people come.
Possibly. That is why, in fact, right in the beginning, I said that there is a certain understanding that the Indian tradition has, or I would say Eastern tradition has, versus the Western tradition of how we look at neutrality and impartiality. So I'm just leaving these for you to ponder. There is no final answer, right? But I want you to ponder over these, because a lot of times when parties are in front of us, how they perceive us, despite our complete neutrality, will depend on how they look at your effort, how they look at things from the way they have been raised, and they have understood impartiality and neutrality. So I had earlier asked this, what is universal will? And I just wanted to ask, now here is something that I want you to tell me. What do you think? The universal will exhibits itself through nature or through universe. So according to you, is nature neutral? Are trees neutral? Is the ocean neutral? Is death neutral? Because these are all universal truths. I mean, they're there. So do you see a neutrality in their actions? What is the neutrality that you see? You're nodding, but what is it that you see here?
Madam, here the neutrality is because the nature is going to give you the same seasons, whatever irrespective of whether what you feel about it or you don't feel about it, the tree is going to offer you the same fruit.
Yes.
And the ocean is also going to be all receiving and will give back whatever you've given the ocean. And
Yes.
death, of course, doesn't spare anyone.
Yes.
And absolutely neutral. And motherhood is not just being mother to a child, but it's a feeling that you have. So
Yes.
they are neutral and they'll behave the same way, irrespective of what comes their way, and whether it is, if you are good to it or even if you are bad to it, it's going to be the same.
Exactly. You said it. So whether you've given it bad air, or whether you've given it good care, a tree is neutral. It'll still keep giving you fruits till it dies. Okay. But it's not going to say, oh, listen, I know that every time this person comes near me, he's smoking. And this person, every time this person comes near me, he's always stroking, he's always giving water. So I'm going to be, partial. I'm going to give fruit to this person and not to that person. There is a neutrality in nature that is, that all of us recognize, and that all of us recognize it as generosity, actually, that, they are neutral despite all our ravages. Right? And possibly when we are talking of neutrality as an ideal, that in our tradition, this is the ideal that we have to go to, that despite our dislike, despite our understanding of something that's very wrong, despite our understanding, despite our knowledge that this is not the way to go, if we can still be neutral and just be generous in our empathy, in our understanding, and therefore allow parties to move forward. Probably this is what is expected of us in terms of neutrality. So very few will tell us that, oh, neutrality means being generous, right? Or means giving generosity. But generosity or kindness is something that we have to give irrespective of how the parties are before us. And that is an expected neutrality. Does it make sense to you? Yeah? Any questions here? Any doubts? No, nothing that you want to discuss here? Nothing that you want to question here?
So how do you actually approach it? I mean, you start off by just starting with a totally clean slate, keep yourself totally open-minded, and even if the solution is staring in your face, you just as you're doing right now, just smile through it and let them figure it out. I mean, are there any tips that you do to make sure that you don't miss this point? And from a practical point of view.
Yeah, so from a practical point of view, what is most important is that you at any point of time are not sucked into your feelings of whatever it may be. If something is repelling you about a situation, if something is deeply, it's against your ethics, it's against anything that you do, or against anything that you hold very dearly. It's one thing to show a different. You don't want to show a mukhota. Okay? Mediation is not about putting a facade. Mediation is actually a very deeply internal process of accepting that, yes, whatever it is, even if this person is acting completely wrong, it is my kind empathy towards this person that will help this person think out and away from, from where he's stuck. You want to empower people to grow out of the situation that they are stuck in. They may be stuck in that situation because they are dumb. They may be stuck in that situation because they're thinking wrong. They may be stuck in a situation because they are malicious. They may be stuck in that situation because they are egotistic. Whatever it is, okay? Your aim is not to be making a judgment that, oh, this person, is just not able to understand, so let me help him. Let me help him in some way or the other. Your goal is to be able to give him that sense of confidence that he can break his own barrier, of whatever that barrier is, and come out and find a solution for himself. When are the best ways that we break barriers? When somebody shows confidence in us, isn't it? Right? I mean, even during our childhood, possibly our best teachers were those, or our best parents, I mean, within the parental community, our best elders whom we remember most are those who gave us the confidence to break our barriers. Because of course, all of us are stuck at some point. And conflict is nothing but being stuck at some point of time, where you can't find your own answers. You can't recognize that, oh, this is a place where I have to step back because my ego has gone for a toss. I need to step back, recognize, and take a break. Or I need to be more assertive. I've allowed somebody to walk all over me. I need to be more assertive, so I'm going to be like this. Whatever it is, each party has to break his own barriers, his or her barriers. And how will that happen without you being that source of strength for that party? Because you can't be the judge. You can't be saying, oh, you've lost this because you were not assertive, you were useless, you did the wrong thing, so now you better live with this. Correct? That's not that. We are not trying to effect a compromise on people. Let's see, tumne ye galat kiya. You should have done this at this point of time, but you never did it. Now, time is gone, blah, 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 blah. So you better compromise and agree to it. What has to happen is that person has to recognize the empathy that we feel that for that person, because he recognizes that, yes, I have lost this. Every person knows what they've done wrong. If he recognizes our empathy to it, then that person is going to get up, break his barrier and say, listen, my time's gone. I want to now end this with this. And that's where your role lies. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, hi. Yes.
You said it is generosity of what? You have to be generous with your empathy.
Yes, and you have to be generous like nature. You have to be generous to people despite their shortcomings. Generous, yes, with empathy. Because empathy will often be blocked because of some internal bias or judgment or whatever you have. Empathy can often become apathy. I don't care. But without empathy, the parties are not going to be able to break barriers. So keep that in mind as your goal. Not that we are reaching that goal. Nobody, it's only the highest individuals who reach that kind of empathy, that even their presence helps people, calm down, recognize where they are going wrong and come to the right solution. But at least we can try. At least we need not get lost in the definitions of impartiality, neutrality, blah, 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 that's going on around us. While all these words are important, recognize they will all be trumped by a certain empathy, which is neutral. There's that Indian understanding, na, ki sarva everyone has to be given the same bhav. Samabhava. What is that samabhava? The bhav of empathy. Okay, next. So I just wanted to bring to you Abraham Lincoln's diary. Look at his rumination at a time when the Civil War is going on. Would someone like to read it loud? Mrinalini, would you like to read it?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Washington, D.C., September 1862. The will of God prevails. In great contests, each party claims to act in accordance with the will of God. Both may be, and one must be, wrong. God cannot be for and against the same thing at the same time. In the present civil war, it is quite possible that God's purpose is something different from the purpose of either party, and yet the human instrumentalities, working just as they do, are of the best adaptation to effect his purpose. I'm almost ready to say that this is probably true, that God wills this contest, and wills that it shall not end yet, be his mere great power on the minds of the now contestants. He could have either saved or destroyed the Union without a human contest. Yet the contest began. And having begun, he could give the final victory to either side any day. Yet the contest proceeds.
So look at his rumination. A man of the caliber of Lincoln ruminates and wonders why this is happening. So there are plenty of things that, can be without our understanding, without, they cannot make sense to us. But yet there is something that we all recognize as universal will that's going on. And he almost speaks as if, I am often reminded when I see this of the way Krishna spoke to Arjun, right? He almost says the same thing, that you don't worry about, what are you doing? Are you doing right, wrong? You just go ahead. There's a larger purpose. You maintain your own focus and go ahead and do what needs to be done. What I wanted to bring out was that while neutrality is unacceptable if we wish social and political growth, like, those statements that we saw, it is actually a very acceptable thing when we wish our own personal growth, right? And you, as a mediator, have to be clear that you are not agents of social and political change. You are not somebody who's wanting a revolution via, human will. What you're looking for is a completely different, it's a different game that you're playing. You need to always ask these questions to yourself. Do you seek to influence as a mediator? Yes, no? Dr. Rai?
We have to influence them in getting out. So influencer, yes.
Okay. Do you seek to promote your will?
No.
Do you seek to bring into effect a situation which you think is perfect?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you seek the manifestation of your power or ability to have the perfect solution?
Seek the manifest of your power or ability. I am not understanding this question.
Okay, forget the word manifestation. Do you seek the desire? Do you desire that your ability or your power or your knowledge can bring the perfect solution, and you want that happening?
High desire.
Okay. Dr. Shirur, what do you have to say to all these?
I will not seek to influence, because maybe I'll influence after they've communicated what are the possible solutions. Then maybe I will say that, don't you think this is a better option? There also, I will not influence, but I'll try to find out from them only which of these solutions possibly is a better option. So I'll not influence. I will not promote my will, because I have to be impartial, and my will obviously will be inclined to one of the parties. So it cannot be totally balanced. So in mediation, we are trying to get the parties to get their own solution. So we are only facilitating that process. So if I promote my will, I'm not going to be impartial. Do you seek to bring in which you feel? No, because my perception of the perfect solution may not be the facts and circumstances of the case at hand. Like for like somebody has a position, but the interest may be totally different. So based on the position, I may say, I may feel on the legal standing that this may be the right thing. But if I see the interest or the need of that participants of the mediation, it may not be perfect. Like JP yesterday mentioned about a situation where 20 lakhs was a compensation which could have been awarded in a MACT matter. But that lady had no source of income, and she wanted 10 lakhs immediately because she had to take care of her children or something. So for me, perfect would have been 20 lakhs, because that's the legally tenable solution. But it's not perfect for her. So I cannot tell her that, you have to accept 20, but you have to wait for 7 years. By then, will she survive? So if I think it's perfect, it's not right. The parties have to think it's perfect. And Yeah, I still not understood the last question very well, but I feel that even if I have the ability to have the perfect solution, I'll still first find out from the parties, and then I'll take if they have three solutions, I'll talk about the solutions and why they feel it's the best for them.
So you will try to do what they call reality testing,
Correct.
but you're not going to impose a solution that you think is perfect on them. Basically, that was the question.
Correct.
Okay. So basically, your answer is a no to all these questions. Yeah? Dr. Deepa? You're muted.
I forgot to unmute. Really sorry. Actually, I agree with what Dr. Sirur has to say, but here I would like to say that here it is not about the mediation that I will be conducting. It's not to be about me. It's going to probably, that is what I've understood since what we've been talking about since day one, that it is about getting these parties to talk to each other. So I probably would not be seeking anything in this except to get those two people to maybe communicate with each other and figure out what's wrong with them, rather than me trying to influence what they want to think or promote. I mean, I'm not supposed to have any will in this, is what I have understood. What I have understood is that you need to be very empathetic, you need to listen to them, they should feel that they have been understood, they've got a chance to talk. And it's not about what I feel about their situation, because what is perfect for me may not be perfect for them. And manifestation of power, I don't think it is about my power, it is about giving them the power to talk. I mean, here, what I understood from what we discussed is that when you're talking about the neutrality, and you said that there is an elephant who has put the foot on that mouse, then at that point of time, it is about empowering that mouse. So neutrality probably at that point would be to empower that mouse, that you speak to the elephant that you have a foot on me, please take it off. And whether that elephant takes it off or whether the mouse accepts that foot, it's up to them. That is what probably is what you're trying to teach us. That's what I understood. Maybe I don't know.
You've got it all right. So it is true that for these questions, at least my answer would be no. Here comes Preeti's hand up. So I'm going to ask, because again, each of us has different perspectives, and that there is nothing right or wrong. But what your perspective is it being matched by your party? That is the important thing. So go ahead, Preeti. Dr. Rai is also raised.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My answer is little different because I think in mediation they're coming to you because they want your help.
Mhm.
So I do seek to influence, but my influence is not putting my view, but to influence a dialogue
Mm.
between the two. Okay, so in that
Okay.
sense, since it's a little it can be interpreted in this way. I think yes, I do want to influence, but I want to influence a dialogue between the two. That is all. I
Okay.
also, to that effect, I will promote my will to make sure that they have a dialogue. So
Mhm.
that's another way of looking at that question. There is no perfect solution for me because I am not giving a solution, but whatever solution works for them is perfect at the end. And in case we are able to, with whatever we are being trained to get to the solution, I think we have to use whatever tools we have. So I think it can be interpreted yes to all this if you take it this way.
Okay. Interesting. Again, like you said, interesting. You've used different word. What is the influence that you want? The influence to be able to make them talk.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Dr. Rai? You raised your hand? I think.
Sorry. I here again second with Preeti that you have to influence the mouse to speak up. Tell the elephant to remove its leg because it's hurting it. You have to, you are seeing an injustice that the elephant is putting the leg on the mouse tail, but you will have to promote the elephant to understand why it is doing that, and at the same time promote the mouse to talk. It's my will that they both should speak. So I have to promote the will of them talking it out, and bring and effect a situation which you think is perfect. I do think that the elephant should take out. Others do feel that the elephant should take the leg out. So I would try to influence the situation by making them to talk their each way of thinking, and what's hurting them and what's not hurting them. Though I might take them in an isolated process, talk to them what seems to be wrong and why they're doing it, or what they're, and not communicate it outside, but want them to talk it out. So I would put a yes to all three, and I'm again really lost at the last question.
All right. Now, what you all have done really is make such an interesting example of this slide, because by putting in a different perspective of where you will use your will and where you won't, you've changed the dynamics of the situation. So all our training and our focus, if it is correct, then our will of being focused on this training and ensuring that we limit ourselves to building that dialogue is something that is within us, and that is a will that we can all exhibit. But if we use the will in another sense, that, oh, I think that this is it, this should be the ideal one, there is this fight going on between these two doctors, and ideally they should take half and half and go out. If that is my will, and I seek to influence that, that is where I go wrong as a mediator. So again, it's a matter of how you interpret people's words, how you interpret their own understanding of the situation, and are gently able to change that perspective is what will make you stand out. Very interesting. I think Kamakshi, you raised your hand. No? Okay. All right. Here, yes or no? Do you want to help the parties chart their path? Do you want to surrender to parties' will? Do you want to flow with the forces of reason, emotion, nature, limitations, etc. of the parties themselves and come to a place of commitment? Yes or no?
Yes.
Who said yes?
Me, Dr. Subodh.
Acha, okay.
On the last question, I would probably say no, but I don't want to flow with them.
I would love to flow with them.
I believe the
What would you not want to flow with?
I don't think the answer to this is very yes or no types. It has to be depending on the circumstances. So, like, say for example, if you say you want to help the parties chart their path, it's initially we as a mediator who has to set the path and the ball rolling and give the directions to it. Within that, we need to allow them to explore their own things in the way they want. But then the broader aspect needs to be under our control, within our control. Similarly, when you say, do you want to surrender to the party's will? Again, it shouldn't be absolute surrender, but a due respect to their wills needs to be given at times. You want to flow with the force of the reasons and emotions. You can't be completely mechanical in the process. The expression of the emotions, venting out, has to be allowed. But to what an extent? Where do we control? Where do we chip in? Where do we allow the things to get in right direction and not get completely out of control is something that is important. So it can't be clearly yes and no types of answers.
Thank you. So just recognizing the diversity of our thought is important, because each of you is right in your own way. Even Dr. Shirur is right in his own way when he says, no, I want them to chart their path. What he possibly understands is chart their path to their own solution. What you understood chart their path, Vrushali, was chart their path of the process. No, you say, I will want to control the process, but I'm okay for them to chart their path to solution. But the process has to be charted by me, and I will try to influence that. So all of us eventually recognize that we can have a very different understanding of the same words. Our ability to understand our role as a mediator is most important. It doesn't matter what you say, how you say, of course, communication skills are important, and we have to touch base with our participant. But after a certain time, the understanding has to flow so well that we are on the same page. So recognize that your internal strength as a mediator, your internal neutrality as a mediator is going to stand the test of time. Nothing that you write, nothing that you say can be a final product, because words have different meanings, right? So neutrality, if internally you are very strong and you have a very high ethic of neutrality, nothing can stop you from being a good mediator. Right? So often, like we say, Acha, we are making people sign long agreements, we are declaring, we are going to be neutral, we are declaring this, we are declaring that. All that can go wrong in a jiffy. But if your internal sense of, being neutral and impartial remains throughout the process, nobody is going to raise a hand at you. And that has to come out only through your presence and through your strength of character.
Can I ask something, ma'am?
Of course,
Yeah,
you can
sorry.
ask all the time. Yes.
So when you have a party venting out and he just points to you and he says, "What do you think this is? I mean, is this correct? Is it not correct?" So how do you reply at that time? How do you get out of that?
I'm sure you've gone through this. Here, Dr. Shirur will tell you. Yeah? Is he here, Dr. Shirur, or he's...
I can hear.
Yeah, yeah. How would you answer her question?
I have to think.
When a party asks, what do you think? How will you answer that question?
There is a standard answer that we give in as doctors, that this is what you have, this is what is available to you, these are the options, these are the pluses and the minuses of it, what we are going to be doing to you. Now you decide what you want to do. Then again the patient's relatives come to us and they ask us, but tell us something that is the best for us. And we have got no answer to that. And we make a straight face and tell them, see, I can tell you the pros and cons. Ultimately, it is you who has to travel.
So as a doctor, you definitely give them both the pros and cons, and then
but
them decide.
Yeah,
Now,
but you won't be giving them the pros and cons. We'll be just nodding our head and acknowledging and probably rephrasing it the way JP sir said that way, so that you need to see what emotion they're talking about. I mean, he had given us one example of siblings fighting. So he had said that when they start making allegations, you're supposed to see what the crux is, and then talk that you are more concerned about this part of the whole situation, even if it's negative. You need to put it in positive words.
Often when you say, okay, I see Dr. Rai's hand, so let's hear him first before I say it.
I'm sorry. The thing when Deepa was telling about decision taking and patients ask in emergency, most of the time this is always a situation where they ask, Doctor Saab, aap kya suggest karte hain? So usually if it is very clear cut, like it's a patient of MI and he has to decide whether to thrombolize or not, then I would say, see, if it was my dad, I would have done it. So I influence it that way, but still it's your dad, you decide.
And no, as a doctor, your level of understanding of a situation is much higher. Your knowledge is much higher. So obviously, people will depend on you. So as doctors, I mean, even if I was before a doctor, I'd want him to tell me what should be done. And that's the best way to say it. If it was my dad, I would do this. Yes. But what do you say to a party? So I would think, at least from my point of view, again, there is no right or wrong, but I would do this if somebody was venting out and after all this would say, okay, what do you think? Isn't it right what I did? Or, what do you think? I would say I can understand, I hear your pain. I would not go into the venture of whether you are right or wrong in experiencing this pain or in thinking like this. I would probably just put out my, best hand and say, I understand your pain, or I hear your, understand that you went through so much pain.
So
Full
what
stop.
if the other person says, I have not gone through pain?
I would like to understand your pain too. So that is why next this thing is go to the other side. Right?
It's
Usually
really
in
difficult.
venting, what we do is I understand or I hear what you're saying. I would now like to understand your side. So what happens is, at least according to me, it gives that leaf out that, I'm not dishing out your pain. I'm not saying, oh, this is all nonsense. Isme rone ki kya baat thi? Suppose a person has vented for some, something that I feel, oh, I've never vented about this. This is such a chota mota issue, right? But I wouldn't be saying that. Ki isme rone ki kya baat thi? I'd actually make the effort to understand that it hurt that person and leave it at that. I understand your hurt. I understand your pain. I hear your pain. Now, let's try and understand what the other side went through and allow that venting. But I'm sure you all could have, because of your experience as doctors who are continuously faced with this kind of venting and pain, you all will have much better ways to communicate that to the party.
No, that question is really difficult to answer. Because as a doctor, what we communicate is on a different footing, because we are saying that with authority, and maybe you can help them decide, or you can impose your line of management at times, because that may be the best line of management. And in emergencies, you have that authority to even implement. But as a mediator, uh, as you said, if I'm going to just say that I understand your pain, they may feel that you are I mean, you're being too neutral. I mean, you are not even concerned about, I vented so much and this person is not really interested in what I'm saying. Will she do any justice, or is she functional? So that thinking also I really don't know what to answer here.
You only know when, see, this is not a thing that we can learn as if, when we learn engineering or even when we learn laws, you go section by section and you repeat that. These are things that are a matter of connection and perception. So sometimes, even if you don't say anything, but your behavior will make that person feel, okay, he's understood. And sometimes the best of words will not make any sense. It's a deeply different subject. It's not about going through a manual that these are the right words or wrong words. It's more about building that empathy. Again and again, I want to use the word empathy because that empathy has to shine out from your persona. Yeah, Dr. Sharur? And
Yeah.
many times, ये सीखने की बात नहीं है. It's only when you start practicing, you will recognize it. You will recognize it imminently as you practice mediation. That has my empathy reached that person or not? Anybody else? Anyone
Yeah,
have?
I had
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
thing.
Dr. Rai,
Uh,
बोलिए.
I'm sure we do some statement which would be a mistake, which we realize and we can recover that in mediation, right?
Yes. Immediately. So many times it has happened that I have said something with a certain intent, but something else has been interpreted. And then, in my conversation, I improvise on it and I try and take clues from what that other person must, when he's talking, what is he meaning with a particular word? I try and take clues from his language to repeat back what my intent was.
So recovery is always there as a point.
Yes, yes. Unless you do something massively wrong, recovery is always there.
So I think it may not be so many words, but your demeanor and your persona, which will help them to say that it's understand. And sometimes the whole onus is not on the mediator. Even the party may fail to understand what you are trying to tell them. So sometimes it may be a difficult situation.
Yes, that is also true. And that is why we are so open about recognizing that, oh, this party is unable to, accept this, but is more amenable to accept it from somebody else. Right? That is why we keep saying that there has to be a deep understanding and sense of how that party is accepting us or accepting what we are saying.
Okay.
So being neutral really has nothing to do about not caring about what's going on around you or being apathetic or being uninterested. All right? Remember how you use your thought, belief, intention, whatever it is, affects your state of energy. Remember that. It is not, you cannot keep a facade. If you're very tense about something, it is going to come out even in your mediation. You can't hide it away. If you're hyper about something, it is going to be affecting your behavior. So neutrality is primarily being achieved via being calm in in all thought, belief, and intention. If my intention is, all right, so if there are 5 guests in my house and right now my intention is to feed them, there is a certain activity, there's a certain adrenaline flowing in me, right? There's a certain urgency flowing in me. And my focus is on making the food or whatever it is, ensuring that I properly feed the guests at my home, whether I'm ordering food, making food, whatever it is. It will come out in my behavior. It won't be that I'm calm or, I'm calm in thought or belief. But if I have to mediate, that neutrality has to be part of my calmness. So while I'm saying what I said about food, it's the same about solution. If you're so full of your own solution and you can see clearly, ye galat hai, ye right hai, this is how it has to go, it'll come out. Your neutrality will not be seen. It'll come out in your behavior, one way or the other. So there is no facade. You will have to develop a deep sense of neutrality to help the parties come to their solutions. Neutrality is not allowing yourself to be manipulated and influenced by what's going on around you. So you can maintain your natural state of awareness, calmness, peacefulness, stillness, and compassion. Because when people are talking, what is going around you is basically when people are talking, when people are venting, if your emotions start getting the better of you. You feel drowned by that emotion. You feel, you feel anger, you feel sadness, you feel pain. Then your neutrality is going to be affected. So the aim is not to be influenced by what's going on around you, so that your natural state of awareness, of alertness, of calmness remains, and automatically your neutrality will be seen. That's all. You don't need to say anything. You just don't need to allow yourself to flow and drown in whatever is being vented out. As a mediator, what you're trying is really to heal broken relationships. And as doctors tend to both evildoers and good doers, our role as mediators is also to tend to both the wrong and the right, both the powerful and the weak person. So you will have to equally be neutral towards the elephant as you are towards the mouse. But we have to empower people to find their path. So when I say empower, yes, you're empowering the mouse, if I was to personify this, but you're also empowering the elephant to be more mindful. Right? Aren't you empowering the elephant to be more kind, to be more mindful, to be more sensitive? Even that is empowerment. While to be assertive is empowerment, isn't to be sensitive also empowerment? Because so many of us are not sensitive. And we know that when we are sensitive, we feel much happier. So empowering is for everybody. Empowering, it doesn't mean that somebody who's very strong and mighty does not need empowerment. Yes, he does not need the empowerment of might and strength, but he needs empowerment of sensitivity. He needs empowerment of, awareness that my being like this affects other people in this way. So empowerment to sabka hona hai. And that is why your neutrality is all the more important. Therefore, maintain an equanimity, and you will notice that not only will your awareness and your guidance improve, but you will also yourself be calmer, peaceful, and balanced. Questions? Any questions or no questions? Dr. Balsara, have I
I
completed the mode?
have a question. Can I?
Yeah, of course.
See, all said and done, yes, this is all theory and yeah, absolutely acceptable. There's no way that it is being contested. But in practicality, as uh, somebody pointed it out in the initial stage itself, you tend to get influence and you tend to have your own thoughts, and which will keep nagging you from behind. You will try your level best to be neutral. You will try to uh, be impartial. All said and done, you will try to be as per the philosophical and as per the theoretical requirement. But I'm just thinking that if there's something that is at the back of your mind which keeps nagging you, wouldn't that cause stress to you as an individual? And is how far is that good for you in your profession as a mediator, and how do you tackle that stress?
So, of course, whatever nags you will stress you. Therefore, your own sense and your own practice as a person to get above your own stresses is what will make you good in your profession as a mediator, because that is your own, it is your own problem, right? It's not something that is coming from outside. It's your own struggle internally, that you have a nagging thought that is interfering with your neutrality. So for us, that is why all of us call ourselves as practice. We are not perfect from day one, nor can we be trained perfectly. Just because you get a certification of a mediator, or even if you get a certification of being a doctor, doesn't mean you're good. Every day we improve ourselves. Every day is a challenge, first within ourselves and then with the situation. So, I mean, it's acceptable. It's perfectly acceptable that yes, you will have niggling doubts. You will have your own stresses. We all have to work towards getting our stresses, overcoming our stresses and becoming better people. I mean, it's a continuous struggle till we die to become better versions of ourselves. It's an exciting journey to just become better, no? Yes, Dr. Rai.
In our emergency, what we have is we have many cases which comes as a cardiac arrest, so we do CPR. After doing all that, we have something called post CPR counseling. So we talk about what you've done good, what we have done bad, who should improve where, and we try to concentrate the best first and then slowly point out the mistakes. So since there's a lot of talk on burnout, do you have anything like post mediation counseling or anything that happens among the teams that helps you, create yourself being better the next time?
Oh, yes, yes. In fact, we are now recognizing this in the mediation scene, that there is tremendous burnout, because basically, even when people are venting out, your internal struggle to remain calm and not get, irritated, influenced, or feel the different emotions that you may feel at their venting out, just to keep that balance is very, very draining. All right. Like all of us are drained with certain kinds of jobs, and this is a deeply psychological job, right? So, yes, there is burnout. Yes, the ability to maintain our positivity and, not become cynical, not become jaded is a very important part of our lives. And yes, we have to do internal, whatever necessary practices. In fact, we often say that yoga works beautifully because, and it's not just for mediators, it works beautifully for a large range of stresses, because it grounds you, it brings you back to a certain calm state. And more so with our profession. The more we do, the more it is required that we get our own space. You'll, in fact, when you talk to a lot of mediators about their personal practices, about how they keep their equanimity, the word that I used, you'll recognize there are a lot of interesting, practices that people do to maintain this.
So there's a sharing team communication.
We are trying to develop that. I don't know if there are mediator circles which share their internal practices. Gandha, are you here? Maybe not. I don't think there are, but it is now talked about. We talk about it a lot within our circles, that this has to be, there has to be something called, mediators, internal circles, which talk about how they can maintain themselves to remain calm and balanced.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else?
Madam, we have one initiative called Hitaguz in KM GSMC, where we talk about these things and take them up for everyone. So it's like an open forum which offers help to budding medicos as well as people who have issues. We call that Hitaguz. That is for the residents, because residency in medicine is in our field is supposed to be very taxing. So we have these help groups where we have teachers as well as counselors, psychiatrists, everybody, the faculty, the resident doctors, the students, everybody is a part of it. and it is called Yuktabuz. It's a very good initiative by the Dean KM, GS Medical College.
Nice.
Can I add something, ma'am?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So basically, as doctors, all of us who are into practice had this, initial phase where you give your options, you realize that this is the right option, and you realize willingly or willfully that the guy has, or the party has taken the wrong option. It's very frustrating. So over the years, what I have realized is that once you put it across, you let them decide, you just let go. If you decide that letting go, I think is very important. I think it'll help us here also, because that is a big stress buster. The moment you start worrying, getting anxious, and deciding for yourself that this is not right and wrong, and the path they have chosen is not correct, it affects you very badly. So you have to let go.
Yeah. So I think when we talked of that initial understanding, what was that? The Indian understanding and the Western one. I think this attitude of balance, detachment here would mean letting go. All right. Not be so attached ki, this could have been the perfect way to go out. Kyun itna, why did things go wrong? You have to let go. Just let go. I think that's what our understanding is of detachment. Because impartiality doesn't mean that. Impartiality is not letting go. Right? Definitely. Nobody can define impartiality as letting go. Detachment, you can define that way. Yeah. We have to let go.
After a bad outcome, generally what we tell ourselves is that we have given it a very good shot, and we couldn't have done better than this, and ultimately it's luck.
Yes.
We console ourselves with, because people can see a patient dying on the operation theater table, and everybody feels that for the family, but nobody feels for the doctor who was operating, the anesthetist who has induced that patient, and the surgeon who was operating.
Yes.
And we do get into a huddle and then appreciate each other's efforts, whatever we could do, and then at the end of it come out with a thing or so that could have been done better, or maybe not done better, or could have been avoided. And at the end of it, we say that we have all put in a very good effort, and it was teamwork ultimately, and then it's destiny, because it's not just our effort, it is also the patient's destiny, and even our destiny to an extent.
So exactly what I think the sentiment that you are echoing is what Abraham Lincoln echoed in different words. That, even the fact that we are in this position, who knows, if the power wanted, we need not have been in this position at all. But the fact that we have had to undergo this position, that there will be somebody who will win, somebody who will, not win, all that has to be accepted as, as a larger will, and therefore let go. Therefore, don't stress over, it was under my control and I couldn't do it.
So you're talking of the universal will, basically, what you spoke about, right?
I mean, when
Divine will, karma, all that.
no, what Dr. Deepa spoke of letting go, is
Yeah.
that not the acceptance that yes, there is something bigger than what I am doing? So I'm not talking about it, but I feel that we have to have that balance in us. I'm not saying you completely become fatalistic. That cannot be. We all have to do our best with whatever processes we have learned. But to keep our own calm and to ensure that we don't extend our brief, we have to learn to let go also. And we have to keep balance during that time. Dr. Valsara is not convinced. Yeah? What would you like to say to that? To what Dr. Deepa just said?
No, I agree. You have to let go. Yeah. At times.
No, it is not about karma. I mean, I will clarify. It is not about karma. It is more about giving our own best shot and then accepting whatever comes our way. It is not about karma. I mean, I do believe in karma, but this particular statement that I made was definitely regarding giving our best shot and looking into where we could have improved rather than blaming ourselves for creating this mess. And I deal with these resident doctors who are fresh into their MBBS and we have an adverse outcome. It takes a lot of effort to get them out of that.
So do we close here? We have any more questions or discussions on this? So let's close here. Now we had something on ethics, but I don't even know, Mrinalini, if we can begin and end that. I think we can keep that for another day.
Yes, ma'am, for sure.
Yeah. But eventually, remember, all ethics boil down to few things that you've learned again and again. Ethics is about your confidentiality, which you will maintain, the voluntariness of the parties, your own neutrality, right? Three major things that all ethic lessons or all ethic classes will tell you. So I think, I don't know, should we start or should we just let be? That can be another day. Mrinalini, it's 9:15. I already see, many
Yeah.
people left the classroom too.
Yeah, I think we have the session scheduled till 9:30 generally. So, I mean, if you want to give like a brief overview of
Okay.
like a one-liner thing, that would work. But I think if we get into the whole aspect of all the ethics, you would need like a longer time.
Yes, that's true. So let me exit my screen. Is my screen visible to you all?
No, ma'am, I think you've stopped sharing.
Okay. So let me again get into, just a minute, huh?
Ma'am, if you want me to share the PPT, I have it ready with me as well.
Yeah, one sec. No, I think I can do it.
Okay, no
So
problem.
I can't see the share screen anymore. I can.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. You can see this?
Yes, ma'am.
So quickly, it's a vast sea, ethics, but we need to only be careful about these things: confidentiality, never have a conflict of interest, self-determination, which, I mean, all of you discussed right now, how you're going to allow people to come to their own solutions. Impartiality, because we use the Western word, but for us, I think all of us have understood that we need to have a certain detachment that will help us remain neutral. Fees, of course, always discuss your fees, which is part of ethics, and professional competence, which we develop over a period of time. So I think professional behavior, we've discussed everything. You all have done this, right? That we have to maintain confidentiality. There's a certain fairness. There should never be a guarantee of results. You should not be misleading. Oh, we will settle, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You should have the courage to, have the courage to counter the fear of livelihood and reputation. Whatever it is, never go deep into something where it will question your ethics. Preserve your dignity, and of course, crimes against society are always outside the purview of mediation. So that, I think, you've done over and over again of what is a good professional way. Even in your opening statement, you'll probably learn this. Procedure, I think, as you learn mediation, you all learn this, and never give legal advice. Don't abuse the process, basically by using your influence to such an extent that, you impose your will. Termination when the dispute is worsening. Not harming those who are not at the table, always. There could be other parties who are not at the table, but who will be affected by decision making. So you have to help people become aware that their decision is going to lead to these consequences, what we call reality testing. So again, procedural ethics, very important. You have to deal with power imbalance, but eventually you have to empower everybody to an equal footing. Then each of these we've gone in detail, but I won't go here. I think you'll recognize this. We'll share the PPT if you want. And Indian ethics do not accept mediators' fees as any part of commission or, as a percentage. It'll always be a fixed fee, which either your institution should right away say, or you all as a mediator should right away disclose in the beginning. Never a percentage of the settlement fee or whatever it is. So maybe these we can do because these are scenarios. So these are like good objective questions. In a mediation, it is apparent that the husband exercises great domination over the wife and she's so intimidated that she cannot present her view adequately. The mediator discusses this with the wife. She agrees with his assessment, but states that she wants to go ahead with the mediation nevertheless. She wants to not go ahead. She's confused and indecisive. Tell me, in this scenario, with each of these scenarios, what would be the proper ethic as a mediator? So the mediator discusses this with the wife and she agrees with his assessment. She agrees that, she's very intimidated. And, but she still said, no, doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and let's do mediation nevertheless. What would you do?
Madam, here I would probably say that ethically this would probably be making her aware that she needs to speak up, and if she remains intimidated, it will not lead them anywhere, because then it would not be both parties deciding, it would be one party dictating. So here I would probably counsel her a lot about speaking up and speaking up whatever she has, and trying to encourage her to express herself and not just be a spectator or maybe just accept what is being given to her.
So would you do this as a mediator?
I would tell her options, that if she doesn't open up and if she doesn't tell her points, she will not be able to come to some conclusion with him, because here I am not going to talk on her behalf. I'll have to clarify with her that this is not a process where I'm representing her, but I'm just there to ensure that the two of them are able to talk, and for them to talk, she needs to open up.
Right. So you're going to help her at least recognize that this won't lead anywhere and that she needs to speak up. And maybe you're saying you'll counsel her, though counseling is not really within your realm. But to a certain extent, if you can help her open up. Is that what you're saying?
I use the word counseling wrongly. That shouldn't have been used, but I'll probably use the word encouraging.
Yeah, encouraging. Great.
That would be the better word.
Correct. Good. What if she wants to not go ahead? What would you then do then? After you've discussed that, you look very intimidated and this. She wants to not go ahead. What would be the right ethic to do? Ethically, the right thing to do?
And we'll have to make her aware of the alternatives she has if she chooses not to go ahead, and which may be going to the court and be represented by lawyers and taking time, and then accept what she decides finally.
True. Absolutely true. That you may have to withdraw if she agrees, if she says, no, once you've done the reality testing of what is going to happen ahead. She agrees, then you withdraw from the mediation. I mean, you close the mediation. And what would you do if she's confused and indecisive?
Once again, talk to her about the benefits of mediation over a legal long drawn battle, and try to convince her to concentrate on the mediation, and of course encourage her to not get intimidated and open up.
All right, all correctly said. I would probably go one step further, and I would say I could hold down the mediation. I mean, after what you've said, after encouraging her and, giving her, the view of what's going to happen ahead, I would probably say I can hold down the mediation. If you feel, you could go to counseling sessions with a proper counselor, and if that can help you become more decisive and clear about what you want.
The counselor, as in what, marriage counselor or
Whoever,
or
we
or a
have
therapist?
personal counselors, we have personal therapists, right? I mean, we have personal coaches even now who
Okay.
help us out of who help us out of our confused state of minds. So you could, you could even hold down the mediation if she agrees to see a counselor or something like that, because eventually it's going to help her. The more confused or indecisive a party, the more difficult the mediation is, right? So you
Right.
want her to come out of her confusion, but you can't. If you say, I'll counsel you or I'll help you, then you run the risk of looking biased
Mm.
the other party. Right? So you could help her possibly recognize that, she needs, if she wants, you can hold the mediation. Why doesn't she go to a counselor and get over her confusion and indecisiveness and then come into mediation? If that is even possible. But otherwise, what you said is completely okay, because not all parties may even be able to afford a counselor. All right. What would you do if a party appears to be mentally incapacitated and does not seem to fully grasp the nature of the mediation process or the issues being discussed?
Stall the process.
Stall meaning?
I mean, you stop the mediation process because, yeah.
Stop the mediation process. So
When you say mentally incapacitated, I mean, what does that mean?
it means you feel that this person, is not in a capacity to take decisions for whatever reason. Suppose that person is over-sedated.
Okay.
Maybe over-sedated, or, is going through certain treatment, or is going through certain issues that have completely, put him into a state of affairs where he's mentally very dull or mentally incapacitated, basically. In legal language, we often write, that I'm taking this decision in full consciousness and in full that kind. So if you can see that there is a certain unconsciousness in that person, then what would you do?
Ma'am, I would ask for an actual official letter from a doctor, certified doctor, saying that he's actually capable of doing this, because the decision is going to be quite important to both the parties. So if I feel that there is some issue, I would definitely ask for a letter or a certificate, is what we call it, a medical certificate, saying that the person is in his senses and can. It's like when you make a will, when you say that, something like that, or have somebody else a power of attorney, or power of attorney, or somebody who has authority equal or more than him.
I'm not sure whether you'll be allowed to ask people to get their certificates of mental alertness or whatever. I'm not sure whether as a mediator we can do that.
Madam, can I ask a question?
Yes.
See, madam, we are about the certification. We are saying that we feel that the patient is mentally incapacitated, and because we can't get a certification, they go ahead with this mediation, and they do come to a conclusion. But then finally, they'll have to sign an agreement and make a contract. No, then that is going to fail if that person is incapacitated,
Correct.
because that contract will not be valid then, because you are not capable of signing a contract then.
And also don't forget that if they eventually sign a contract and later go to a court and say that I did this under influence, under force when I was at a time, then what does it say about your mediation and your reputation?
Yeah, exactly, ma'am. That's why I think it
So if
protects
he
your backside.
Right. So you will ask for a certificate only if he insists that no, I want to go ahead with this mediation. See, if you have felt that this person is incapacitated, maybe he's alcoholic, and he comes every time when he comes, you feel, he doesn't take, he's in a different zone. So you say, I think I'm going to close this mediation. I don't, like Vrishali said, we are going to close this. And you don't need to give a reason, right? You can just close it saying that I don't think mediation is the right option here. Correct? But if that person says that, no, why is it not the right option? I want to do mediation. I want to insist and I will go ahead with this. That is a time when probably you can say, then I'm not sure, but I would prefer a certificate and I would want an authority. Maybe you want a double authority to go ahead with the mediation. Generally, we do take an agreement, right, from parties that both parties agree to go for mediation. But in that case, maybe you can ask for it. Yes, Rushali?
So, in such cases where you stop the mediation process, are you required to put it in the mediation reports, suitable comments, or just failure report?
Yeah, just a failure report that mediation does not seem to be the right thing here. Parties may explore other options.
So here, can we involve the lawyer and tell the lawyer
If there's a
what
lawyer,
your
yes. If there's a lawyer, yes.
Can we excuse ourselves from this and ask them to maybe ask someone else to look into it?
Yes. No, ask another mediator to look into it. No.
Yeah.
I mean, see, basically, if you think that the party is not, you will recuse yourself. Whether you ask some other mediator is for that other person. That other person may say, all right, no, she was not capable of helping me. I'm going to go to another mediator.
No, because here you are going to write that the parties may explore some other form of mediation.
No, I didn't say that.
Other kind of solution to this other than mediation.
Parties may explore other options for resolving this issue. Other options could
could mean another mediation also.
Arbitration. Yes.
Okay.
What will you do if a party seeks the mediator's legal advice on a point?
You don't give legal advice.
Okay.
That's the
All right. And what if an agreement is legal but manifestly unfair, such as a dismissed employee accepting a settlement amount which is only a fraction of what is due as per the employment agreement?
take it as it is, ma'am. I mean, you can't change the solution.
Because it's been decided by them, so mutually decided, right? If it's
We
an
can,
agreement.
in a private session, talk to the employee again and make him aware that this, or ask why he's acting like this, or why he's accepting this when legally he's allowed to have a settlement of some.
So you will do your reality testing, including this question of why are you agreeing for this, right? But definitely you're not going to say, no, I will not accept. You are not somebody who will say, I will not accept. You do your reality testing, you do your best. Beyond that, it's their choice. What will you do when the parties have elaborately discussed their problem with the mediator? They have not reached an agreement, but they just want to end the dispute to get it over and be done with. Both of them tell the mediator that he should decide the dispute and they will accept what I says.
Very politely tell them that they will have to decide and not you. That not me.
Correct. Absolutely right. A, B, C, D. What will you take
Politely
marks? What
refuse
will
all.
you, huh?
Politely refuse all.
Refuse all.
You know, a judge, I'm not sure when, this was maybe 20 years ago. It was early on in my career, 25 years ago maybe. I was working on a case of a lawyer's misdemeanor in the Bar Council. And you know what the misdemeanor was? That the lawyer had accepted a bottle of alcohol from the client. Something as simple as that. So ethics is, especially in a country like India, there are lots of things that put together. Sometimes I don't know, sweets a little too much. Many parties bring you sweets. I mean, people will even bring you sweets for Diwali. So, but yes, whatever it is, ensure that it is always equal and that it doesn't happen that one party gives you and you accept it. Right?
So that means you can accept it.
If both parties together, I'm not sure. I have had a situation where both parties have come back with a thank you card. Not sweets, but a thank you card. And they did it together. They both, in fact, the agreement went so well that they requested time and one day they came back with a thank you card. So I accepted it. I don't know if it was wrong to accept, but that was all right. But of course, it's not, I mean, thank you card and sometimes, there are some things that are just a token. If it's something big, then you know that it's, over and above your feast. If it's a tokenism, then anything that is a beautiful, positive tokenism is welcome. Because it just adds to the sweetness of the whole. It just adds to good closure. But I'm not sure, you will have to take a call that what is this looking at? Like nowadays, even tokenism can be very big, people send baskets and things like that. That's not right.
So, giving sweets is very much integral part of our culture. So, even if one party gives, because that party who made a complaint is happy, yeah, his issue is solved and he's celebrating it.
Yeah.
So, I think it will be, as you rightly said, it's very personal decision, because then you need to look at the feelings behind it.
Yeah. See, maybe we could have better worded this. A party brings, very happy, अच्छे से हो गया सब, brings back from the home on the last day some laddus that person himself or herself has made at home. All right. And it is for all. It's come to the mediation room, it's a good feel good factor. I'm very happy with this. Sab khaiye. Okay. That's perfectly all right, because even the other party is eating, the mediator is eating. It's not something that, you're taking home, etc. It's all happening, probably being distributed in the whole office with the staff. Okay, that's a different thing. And what if one party, makes a very elaborate, one of these hampers with very fancy things, right? It's still sweet, it's still food. But you can see that it is intimidating in its, in its contents, in the way it is presented. It's like an intimidating, super expensive hamper that is just eventually a hamper of sweets. You know when to say no. And I think all of us know when to recognize that, this is coming to us over and above something, and this is coming to us in genuine happiness, and genuine tokenism. So rather than writing down, I think it's better for us to recognize that what we can accept as a genuine happiness and closure for all, and what is, putting up our statement that, listen, I'm happy with what you did, so here's something for you. What about this?
I think we have spoken about this in the opening statement. If it is against the law, we will report. And that is beyond the scope of confidentiality.
Absolutely. This will not go under confidentiality. This will have to be reported. Thank you. We've extended, but I think we've covered both. And I think ethics was not so much an issue at all with you all. You all have gone through fantastic initial trainings, and, JP, Gandha, all of them have been very, very good with you because you're pretty clear about your ethics. So we can close here. And oh, I think JP has just entered. Yeah.
But he's on his phone, so he might be traveling.
Okay. Yeah. So we are ready to close, Gandha?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Any questions, any doubts?
We'll come up with many more. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.